So how many capillaries are blocked? 1,000. So there was a story here. This is blocked. But interestingly, the radionuclide labeled the radiopharmaceuticals, they don't act like a microsphere. So the macroaggregated arginine acted just like a microsphere temporarily. Why? It's macro. For aggregation, we use some specific the magic, which was devised 40 years ago by our ancestor, the chemist, and it is going to be liberated, and at last it is going to become the albumins. So the unlike macroaggregated albumin, MIBI is just passing by. Most of them are this compartment is myocyte, myocardial cells. I mean the myocyte. There have been two ways of thinking. This is compartmental model proposed by Teddy and Schmidt long ago, before I was born, and a ranking-chrome model also before I was born. It's just one is compartment model and the other is the passing this the cylinder, and cylinder has a holes. The MIBI is just kind of leaking. So there's two models. So what we need to know as a physician is just the name. And those models and the tracer kinetics are going to be dealt with by Professor Jason. So that's the story. And he actually, he himself made this kind of images known. He, as a postdoc student, he was in the National Cardiovascular Center of Japan in Osaka almost 20 years ago, and he learned a little bit about from the Professor Iida, who is now retired. So Professor Iida did this kind of study. Rest here, brain blood flow with oxygen 15 water. That's a kind of a stratospheric or alien type of research. However, he was so curious about the blood flow of each area of the gray matter of the brain, and he just put, this is human, the anesthesia machine to the patient, and CO2, the concentration was increased. Why? Because CO2 is the really the usual physiologic stimulant of the vasodilation or increasing blood flow of the blood, brain blood. Here, I'm going to say there is a difference between the myocardial blood flow increase and cerebral blood flow increase. One is increasing cardiac output. Which one? You might just expect. The other is increasing vascular bed. I mean the capillary. In brain, some of the capillaries are not open in basal state. With the challenge of CO2, it's open. So that's the reason why MRI perfusion imaging of the brain, they used CVV, cerebral vascular volume, CVV, cerebral blood volume imaging, in addition to CVF, cerebral blood flow. So increasing cerebral blood volume is related with increasing cerebral blood flow. In heart, it's not enough. So let me come back. And also, hyperventilation. Hyperventilation syndrome is you just hyperventilate, and your CO2 pressure is decreased, and brain blood flow is gone. and then the patient is going to suffer from the syncope or at least the dizziness and even twitching. It's related with the acid-base balance. So it's just kind of physiology. So even your physicist or the chemist colleagues can understand. So actually, we learn a lot in medical school, but when we just try to teach, try to just convey our knowledge to physicists and chemists, then we can just simplify it like this, and then they can understand. And then after that, we need to just ask them to teach us chemistry and physics like that. Not teaching us every physics and every chemistry, just exactly what we need to know. And then we are going to convey our knowledge to our clinician colleagues. They don't have time. They need to just pay attention to their patients. If they have time, they need to relax. Why? Because our surgeons are, they need to just operate again tomorrow in another patient, other patients. And physicians, they have a 70 the outpatient clinic patient game. So they don't have time. So we need to just kind of, and to understand that, at least we need to just understand the single pass uptake. And this is the very famous. Water is really the almost without barrier. Everything is intracellular compartment and extracellular all consist of the water, and water is freely movable. However, this is actually the assumption. When you do, I was in the St. Louis, Washington University to learn something about the perfusion studies, performed with the oxygen 15 water, which we had experiences after installing our PET cyclotron back in 1993, 95, and 96. I just used a lot of my research money to water study, in addition to rubidium study. That's kind of to fulfill our the curiosity. At that time, I found that water is not like that. However, water is standard, and then rubidium is like that, and thallium is like that, MIDA is like that. So it means that the water molecule is passing by, and one rubidium molecule is passing from the artery to the vein. If it is taken up by the myocyte or not. So there was a single pass extraction fraction based on what ranking chrome model. So they are using our physicist colleagues. They are using that term. So then from that point we don't understand. So please don't use the name. Please say to it, it's extraction. Flow is there, and extraction is going through. And here, that's the usual question I'm asking to my student. Third-year students are coming to my department, and I ask them simply, after explaining this, then FDG, in case of FDG, why FDG does not represent blood flow? It should go to the myocardium to be broken down. Then why? Why FDG does not they represent blood flow, and instead they represent here glucose transport activity convoluted. It's just kind of multiplied by hexokinase activity. It's everybody's knowledge. Even clinicians know that. Then why? It's based on this one. Here, that's permeability. The surface product is too low. So blood flow does not affect any uptake. So we need 40 minutes. Blood flow is just immediate. And MIDI is given even at the height of the adenosine effect. We just give MIBI. And then because of liver uptake, 1 hour later, we just get the scout image. But in case of the FDG, we inject. And their probability surface product is 10%. That's physiology related with, still I have never come to the radiopharmaceutical this way. And going to this looks like physics, but it's just. And then this is a simple fact. Everybody was curious about the stress physiology, and this is myocardium is coronary blood flow 3 to 5 times. However, in the literature, you might just find 2 to 3 times. And which one is correct? Both are correct. Here, at the age of 30s, your coronary blood flow is increasing at stress peak 3 to 5 times. Why? Because your maximal heart rate is 220 minus your age. So my maximal heart rate at my peak exercise is 220 minus my age. It's just 2 times. So that's the reason why. Actually, I was the first one to learn this from textbook. And this is kind of another secret. Professor Junji Chung and Myung-Chul Lee, both of whom are retired now, they did not teach me. They just let me study. Okay? They did every kind of a global tour to teach, to just convey, we need to just promote nuclear medicine to help people. But he left me in my department with textbooks and journals and internet. At that time there was no internet. So to find out why textbooks are saying different things, it's because of the exercise or adrenaline. The mostly cardiac output is from 5 liters per minute to 18 liters per minute. That's according to the textbook. The 3.6 times in case of 20s. I mean the person in his or her age of 20s is from the heart textbook. The heart textbook they are having, and in the 1970s, the cardiologists were quite curious about the exercise physiology. They just recruited, invited volunteers, no aged volunteers, young volunteers. It's just kind of it's kind of a treadmill with many parameters on, many lines on, and they could just find out the cardiac output increase. It's catheter in from radial artery to pulmonary side, the wedge, and using kind of a fixed principle, measuring cardiac output according to the classical measurement, they could find it's 3.6 times in case of the age 20, and another the 3 to 5, another the 20 or 30% is because of vasodilation. So there have been the concern or the relief. Adenosine is just a vasodilator, and exercise is cardiac output increase and the vasodilator in combination 5 times. So 20% of the vasodilation in the the conduction artery and the resistance vessels, they're passing through the myocardium. So that's the story. So I'm using the cardiologist terms. We need to understand the cardiologist ideas. So that's the reason I understand the cardiologist's mind very well, because I myself did the nuclear cardiology for 10 years, from 1990 to 2000. So I needed to understand their direction and their way of thinking. So that's the reason why I don't like the CT. I cannot learn everything. I need to just understand the terms of the pulmonologist or thoracic surgeon, lung surgeon, I need to understand the stomach surgeons, their kind of interest, point of interest. I need to learn the pancreas surgeons, just like Professor Zulfikar Khan. So I cannot cope with everything, but I know cardiologists. And Untitled SPECT is quite popularly used, and it is not going to die. Okay, but different from my brain here, gray matter perfusion, there is no cardiac output increase. When brain perfusion is increasing when you think, okay, or inhalate CO2. And your brain perfusion is going to increase because this is closed. And then after 1 hour, and just the CO2 pressure of your brain is increasing, and your brain blood flow is increasing, and lactate is accumulated where interstitial space, and you're going to get drowsy. Okay, that's the one I'm interested in. Anyway, it's just systemic blood flow is CO2 pressure. Okay. Now, radiopharmaceuticals. How to image that kind of physiologic differences using radiopharmaceuticals? The first one is now ECD. So, without that, can you see those the pharmaceutical? And if we can just put, here is the evidence. And cysteine. Oh, it is making dimer. Can you understand that? No. So if you can, please don't do that. You just ask the industry or your chemist colleagues. Anyway, this is ECD. Just kind of translocated from Wikipedia. Wikipedia has every information. Okay? And also, I missed one hand. The calculation ECD is just the entire brain percent ID injected dose, almost to 5% or more are taken up. That's very high. Have you seen any literature that in tumor, 5% of injected dose was taken up? No. So that's the kind of current status of the research, basic research. Please be reminded that this ECD and the whole body image is like that. You know, have you seen any time the whole body ECD primary image? It's in the literature. So only 5% is taken up here. Why? Because of the physiology. Among cardiac output, how many percent of blood flow is reaching here? We can calculate. I made the slide. And all the others are here. And finally here, just in the intestine. So we say the critical organ of ECD is gallbladder or intestine or colon. Why? Because the resonance time is long. Small bowel is fast. Okay? And here they have measured regional CBF using water or others. And ECD uptake, percent ID per gram. And they could just report back in this time. That's the reason why we can use ECD. And that's the flow. In gray matter, using water, they have measured, use water pad, 0.7, 0.9 milliliter per minute per gram. Then what about the myocardial blood flow in myocardial muscle blood flow at rest? To learn that, I spent entire 1 year in Washington University to do the research of the myocardial blood flow measured by water. The Washington University was very famous to do that, and that's kind of there's a kind of real hot dispute between Steve Bergman of Washington University and Dr. Iida of at that time not Osaka in Akita. And I got just kind of involved in Washington University. And I found their fault, flaw. And finally, I just confessed to my understanding to Dr. Iida after coming back to Washington, the university. And Dr. Iida was so glad that a person belonging to the other enemies, the parent, they coming back from my country, I became independent. I just sent an email to Dr. Iida, you are right, and they are wrong. So he was so glad to take my recommendation of postdoc. So Dr. Kim Jong-min, now in QRAMS, has successfully got his postdoc under Professor Iida. It's because my confession today. So that was the one. And interestingly, the blood flow of the myocardium is almost the same, 0.6 to 0.8 milliliter per minute per gram. You know? However, in case of the heart, it's increased at least 2 times in my age, 3 to 5 times in the age of 20. Okay. 20s. And so they just, if I calculate here, 750 milliliter per minute in 1,500 grams, just kind of a simple calculation. And the cardiac output, 12.5%. That's simple calculation. And I use that slide for almost 20 years to teach my students. Okay. Finally, in 2017, just last year, they have published the using phase contrast MRI. So cardiac output was measured using the carotid, 2 carotid arteries, 2 vertebral arteries. They have used some kind of ingenious technique of phase contrast to the MRI. They have calculated this. This is the cerebral to cardiac output, the flow index. And it was 20% to 12%. So it was correct. Actually, we don't bother to know the blood flow of the person in the age of 20s. 20s, they are young and healthy. They don't come to our office. We, at the age of 50s and 60s, we visit clinics to help us. So we need to think about this, the 12%. So that's the previous PET measurement and the recent MRI measurement is matching. So my teaching using this slide was not wrong. So I was really. The second one is there are 2 the technetium compound to measure blood flow, brain blood flow. Here, the second one is HMC. It's brain 2.25% ID. When ECD was first produced and commercialized, a scientist from ECD producing company visited me. I was in charge of brain blood flow as a physician. So he tried to persuade me change our use of HMPO with ECD. So I needed to decide with limited information at the time. So I asked him, how many % of the ECD is coming to brain? Okay, he told me that information, 2.25 instead of 2.25, yeah, this correct information. Oh, so I was really happy to see that. So I decided, from now on, for 3 months, I'm going to change every patient cases from HMPO to ECD for 3 months. For 3 months, the psychiatric patients and cerebral vascular disease patients, epilepsy patients. Everyone was, and interestingly, ECG imaging, despite that 5%, 2 times high uptake of in the brain, every image was dark. I cannot read. I could not read. So, but here is the here. 1 hour, 5 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour for HMPO image is just kind of taken after 5 minutes. It's immediately taken up. Even they say hyperfixation. And here, 5 minutes. Brain has taken up 5 minutes, but he did not say to me, scalp and the soft tissue is taken up so high, so contrast is gone. So I could not see. My technologists did a good job every day. I was complaining for every cases for 3 months. Their life was miserable. I was just calling and in the phone and just kind of, why do you, it should be 5%. So finally I could find here. Here. Soft tissue uptake is nothing. So HMPL images should be better. And around that time, Professor Bielsa of Bonn, University of Bonn, because Professor Myung-Chul was the president of the World Federation, the 2002, and Bielsa was the president of the World Federation in 1998. So his group published the ECD SPECT is much better than HMPL to find the ictal zone in epilepsy patients in JNN, European Journal, everywhere. So during the 3 months, my ictal SPECT patients were included. I also found here, this one. HMPL SPECT was like this. ECD SPECT was like this. Okay, because of the background effect, they needed to just smooth more. I'm not quite sure why. Because our technologists were too desperate to make things better. However, interestingly, there is kind of a randomized control study. For 3 months, we did not solve. In case of HMPO, the asymmetry was higher. The epileptogenic zone took up a large amount of HMPO instead of ECD. So that's the reason why I was complaining. I could not discern, this is the best case, I could not discern any point of increased blood flow in epileptogenic zone during the 3 months. My life was miserable at that time. Until that time, actually, our epileptologists, we call it epileptologists, and we did every week epilepsy board meeting. Neurologists and neurosurgeons and pediatric neurologists and radiologists and us. That's kind of MDT, multidisciplinary team. So we just sit down and we just kind of, and interestingly, during 1 hour's talk, just 40 minutes, there was 1 interruption. So that's the law. This, because of the speed, yeah, is correct. So if I just continue, interestingly, in this single case, once he had this technician ECD SPECT, and because there was no asymmetry, we could not materialize it. So reported -1. Neurologist sent a patient again. And at that time, after 3-month trial ended. So during that 3 months trial, ECD producing company, he gave us the ECD vial for free. But it ended. So we happily returned to HMPA. And here, I could find the second, this left hemisphere would be the source. It would have been neocortical epilepsy. In case of neocortical epilepsy, the discharge propagates so early. Once you just see the EKG change and inject, and then it needs 30 minutes. During 30 minutes, already propagate. And so the epilepsy technologists did a good job, but we don't find the localization. We just say lateral connection, and this is the general. So, however, in the literature, that kind of positive bias was not corrected. Still, you just find the except for this paper, our paper published in Epilepsia paper. Except for that paper, most of the paper are just kind of promoting ECD. They would have received some rebate from the company. No, I don't think so. However, the ECD was said to be stable. HMPAO was very unstable. It is coming to just from lipophilic to hydrophilic because of the oxidation. So methylene blue and cobalt chloride was given, and that kind of addition of the new constituent is going to make another FDA going through the FDA again. So it takes time. It took time. So during that window, ECD making company, so if you don't understand this kind of radiopharmaceutical, then we are going to just do. So that's Acetazolamide SPECT. It is so cumbersome to put anesthetic machine. So we do just use the nephrogenic diuretic, which is blocking carbonyl anhydrase here both. Then why CO2 is increasing with the effect of carbonyl anhydrase, that inhibitor, Dimox, is because CO2 is always producing CO2. So CO2 is produced here, and it's blocked. Then CO2 is accumulating. It's different in lungs. Different in lungs. Why? Because in lungs, not CO2 is produced. This and here is blocked. That's the reason why Dimox is dangerous in COPD patient, aged COPD patient. So, as I heard, almost 10 patients died because of the complication of Dimox in Japan. So we have not experienced. Why? Because we are using Dimox. However, we lost one young girl several years ago. We don't know still why. So that's the kind of we do like that when we use HMK here. I'm almost and this is my Cerebral. As I just told you, similar range. And we used MIBI and tetrophosphine. Around that time, there was a saying in addition to MIBI, many isonucleates, and in addition to tetrophosphine, many phosphines, and even tetrophosphines. Now we don't care. They are only here. So this is the chemistry. Technetium chemistry is coming now. Technetium has a 9 different valence here in 1990 biochemistry. And here technetium 04, technetium is 7, and oxygen is -2, multiplied by 4, -8. So technetium 04 is -1. that kind of story. MIBI is neutral, calculation is 1. So we need to put SnCl2, stannous chloride, to reduce. Reduce means the balance is decreasing. And sometimes here means the KNSA. Sometimes here means the PTA. Sometimes here is, so the it's kind of a radio chemists are kind of magicians. They how to just to make like and they simply. Now we can use that kind of one here. Are we the stress physiology? Are we do we suspect the left circumflex artery or right coronary artery with this kind of image? Why? Because interestingly here interlateral wall, but interlateral wall does not have any wall motion abnormality, and we could see here, and also the right coronary artery is smooth. Left circumflex artery. Dr. Pottery and Dr. Afroza now, and the next person would be another. They are having difficult time to read coronary angiography every day, actually twice a week, because I have 2 sessions. Dr. Asmar was in my institution. I did not do that kind of circus, but I and Dr. Staub are doing twice a week. They need to read coronary angiography without any clinical information, like just pretending. Why? Because we need to understand the mind of the cardiologist. Then they are going to consider us as their kind of a second opinion giver. Okay, so coronary angiography. So Pottery was already testating when she leaves my department to Jeonnam National University, but I just assured her, I'm going to say to your colleagues that she is now the best expert in reading the coronary angiography. In addition, as well as the micro SPECT. And let's see. Okay. And they need a here. So circumflex artery was a problem, near total occlusion, ballooning, and it improved. Interestingly, then resting defect was gone. So it's already the thickening or the motion abnormality has set. That's our report. Okay. So actually, I think that the cardiac surgeon and the interventional cardiologists are better than the Johns Hopkins one. You know, they have been interested for the last 25 years about their performances. In Johns Hopkins, only 2 or 3% of the coronary artery bypass surgery cases are requested for follow-up SPECT. However, in my institution, everyone is being requested, sent to our lab. Why? Because my real modest and humble cardiac surgeon are really interested in finding out his performance by using the independent, objective method. Why? Because 30 years ago, another senior cardiac surgeon was mad at us. After his operation, knew the fixed defect appeared. So we suggested there might be kind of a perioperative mitral infarction. So he was mad and he asked his patient, do you feel pain? No. See, him or her. This patient says that I don't feel any pain. And why do you report fixed defect? So it should be wrong. However, in the textbook, after surgery, because of the pericardiostomy and surgery, most of the C fibers were cut. No pain afferent fibers are alive. It means that patients do not feel any pain. They just die. Okay? So happily, fortunately, he retired. And young, the cardiac surgeon joined, and actually he depended upon us for almost 25 years. He is now going to retire again. So we need to just kind of deliver this kind of experience to our young next generation leaders, not just keeping in mind. So anyway, this patient, that's viable myocardium. I studied viable myocardium for a long time. I could not publish because in case of nuclear cardiologists, the disease of the advanced the countries with high income. So they have done, it's a life or death problem, and 50% of the mortality, case mortality decreased to 8%, single digit 8%. So they say, unlike oncology, cardiology experts saved a lot of patients, and for that they did many the very fancy clinical and basic studies. We cannot match. I could just publish several papers like this here, and let me just finish here because it's already not 40. It's just 4 minutes. It's a little bit. So because we are going on and on with this kind of because of the injury time, it's just kind of a Manchester United injury time or the Vietnamese injury time. We have a very good soccer player or the very good coach in Vietnam. So injury. So because of technical failure, I have used 4 minutes more. So if you have any questions, then we can move on to the next. Yours. These are things. It's going to answer everything. So we can take a 3 or 5 minutes break. Did not learn because he was in my I did not do this kind of delivery. He was sick, kept sick.
He could escape.
That's the reason why
All are included in
Is it possible to use this like brand together?
Is it possible to use these lines? No. These ones. Not working? So not working, this one? Does it work or not?
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yes.
So there is no internet?
Yes.
Okay.
You will connect to write. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll try later on.
Try it. But maybe not.
Yeah, okay. I see.
Try.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm Assalamu alaikum. So, I think I just heard that sound, or that, I just searched it. What is the meaning? So I found that that is good meaning. So I
Very nice.
yeah. So I try to use that word and just in front of my things. But I think that is just a start point of learning. We have to do the things. We have to try to do. So I think this radiochemistry is the just same as with the try to do. As I know that every old chemist do the same reaction more than 3 times, at least 3 times. First time we try to make some kind of chemical that has to fail because of we have no actual condition or no actual quantity of substrate like that. So normally, in case of me, I try to every reaction in the 3 times. Even in the radio labeling also, I normally try to 3 times. First of all, we try to very little amount of radioactivity, and then finally I set up the clinical settings. So I think this kind of lecture is just a start point of your experience, and then you have to do the radio labeling and also radio TSC and get the radiopharmaceutical in your department. So I realized that Dr. Azim, he tried to come our country, I think 3 years before maybe, yeah. So if that is done, then that was done. I think he got several experience about especially F18 or gallium labeling procedure. But I think just we are connected. We are connected with more than 3 years. So I think he can try with me just the radio labeling of the gallium or therapeutic radiopharmaceutical. So I think we can start now. Maybe you know that what is the meaning of the radiopharmaceutical. Just a simple compound name, radio and pharmaceutical. You know that what is the pharmaceutical? Pharmaceutical can give some kinds of physiological effect to the human body or anywhere. But just radio means in the radioactive material or radionuclide is connected with the pharmaceutical. So, but in case of radiopharmaceutical, there has no physiological effect from the pharmaceutical component. Just came from the radionuclide. So we can find where is that pharmaceutical, just tagging with the radioactivity. So as you know that pharmaceutical should be safe, and we have to get the pyron-free state. Also, radiopharmaceutical we call the radio tracer or radio indicator or radiochemical, radio probe. All these three or four name is just before the clinical situation. After the finish the IND process or the clinical trial process, we finally could get the radiopharmaceutical. That is the approved or we can use it for a human. I think you have to understand what is the radiopharmaceutical has a different feature, special feature for compared to the original or normal pharmaceutical. As I mentioned, that it contains radioactivity. Also, we normally less than 100 microgram of the radiopharmaceutical injected. That means that there is no pharmacological effect from the pharmaceutical. And also, radioactivity normally has a half-life, but in case of nuclear medicine department, we normally use less than 1 day. Less than 1 day radioactivity half-life. And also, just a small quantity, because sometimes we can produce a C11 compound that is only for one patient. So today, if I make a C11 compound, we set up the C11 methionine, then we know that at that day, who is the patient who got that C11 methionine? We definitely know that produced compound and injected patient. So that is not the same situation. I think that is a special feature for radiopharmacy. And also spatial limitation. You have to control by your authority, government authority for installation of your radioactivity material controlling rooms and whole shielding like that. And also normal pharmaceutical, they can produce in the industrial part, and then they can sell all the pharmaceutical in the pharmacy store. But in case of radiopharmaceutical, we can prepare and in-house preparing, and then we can we call that is compounding, and then after that we make that radiopharmaceutical into and then inject into the patient. I think you may know that radioactivity. Earlier we used the curie as a unit for radioactivity, but SI unit is a becquerel. I think you can I remained my slide into here, and then we can get, I think, personally give Ajin, and then we can share all the slide, okay? Especially for mine one. So don't use to take water.
Actually, WFNI portal, that portal site already uploaded the lecture contents.
And we know that each radionuclide has a half-life, just like a fingerprint, you can get information from the decay constant in the textbook, and each, especially in case of technetium 99M, and it has a 6 hours half-life. That is not changed. Not changed. Okay. So that's why we call there is constant. You can search kinds of half-life and decay constant in the textbook. And also one more thing, you have to understand what is the specific activity. Because of the radioactivity that should be decayed in the time course, so we just say that the specific activity means the ratio of the radioactivity in the total mass of element. You can guess that in this bottle, the water content is 100 ml. We normally 100 ml water means 100 gram. In this water, if that O15 water is 1 millicurie, that means that specific activity means 1 millicurie per 100 gram, like that. So that is just the specific activity. So that is just that means if you know that the specific activity in a specific time, then you can guess that how many another element, another chemical species is in this bottle. Last year, in the Society of Radiopharmaceutical Sciences, they state that what is the molar activity. I think that is almost same feature, but that molar activity means divided into mole. So simply we know that if we know that the molecular weight, then we can transfer it to the mole. So if that is written in a specific activity, that is that from the gram, and if that is the written in a molar activity, just divide into mole. This is the practical. If we could get, after the synthesis of the CL-labeled compound, we could get the 1,000 molecules. One from the 1,000 molecules is the practical specific activity after we get the synthesis. In the 5,000 pixel, just one, you couldn't find. But I think a radioactivity detector is very sensitive, so they can detect that one. Even though the less than the more than 50,000 pixel, only one we can detect. So I think the radioactivity is a very special feature. Sometimes they ask that even C-level compound we cannot use the outside of the field, just like we can produce here to the neighborhood hospital within 1 hour distance. They cannot use for a C-level compound because of if we make a 1 curie C11, after 1 hour we could get only 1/8 activities remain in the whole chemical content. So that means even though the activity is higher than the normal injected dose, but specific activity we could not find the receptor imaging. So you have to understand what is the exact meaning of the specific activity. So next part will be the. I think that this is not the chemistry field. I think physics field. Nucleus. We have to understand what is the radionuclide. We have to understand what is the nucleus. Nucleus possesses the proton and the neutron and all other small particles inside of the nucleus. You can see the nucleus structure here. And nucleus contains several forces in itself, and because of this is the proton number and the neutron number. As I know that 1-to-1 line is here, but in the natural way, that slightly lesser proton number is preferred because of that electro repulsion from the nucleus. Radioactive decay means general concept is the unstable nucleus into the more stable nucleus. So they we call the unstable nucleus parent nucleus, and then stable was the daughter nucleus. So sometimes that particle change into the magnetic wave rates like that. So here you can see several types of radioactive decay: alpha, beta, gamma, and also electron capture or internal conversion. So in case of alpha decay, they produce the helium nuclei, and also beta decay, they produce the beta minus and beta plus. And gamma means the unstable nucleus that they produce the gamma ring and then they turn into the ground state. Just simply, you can listen what is the alpha and beta. And also, if that particle cannot penetrate even the paper or plastic, only gamma can penetrate the whole the things, that then you have to shield the high density material just like a lead or tungsten like that. So that's why we can use this gamma ray for imaging. Okay, so that's why we can use alpha beta for therapy, because of that particle has a high energy to cure some disease tissue. And next step will be the production of the radionuclide. So that exactly the opposite way to the decay, because of that we have a stable isotope here in the Earth, and then we can make an unstable isotope. Then they can decay into the stable isotope or stable nucleus. In case of cyclotron, we have a specific nucleus reaction from the O18 water to high speed, high energy proton beam is collide into the O18 water, and then they turn into the F18, and then they produce the neutron also. But the Q means the threshold energy. If that threshold energy is not so sufficiently high, then we cannot produce the F18. But in the normal case, more than 8 mega electron volt, they can produce the F18. So that's why all the cyclotron has their own energy name. So sometimes 6 mega electron volt. We have a 16.5 MeV mega electron volt cyclotron. So that number means the highest energy for a proton kinetic energy. There are two ways to produce the radioactive radionuclide from the reactor, and the other one is cyclotron. Sometimes we put the mother radionuclide into the generator, then we can produce the generator produce the radionuclide. As I mentioned, that this is the stabilized line, and then if we want to make a upper side of this build, we can use the reactor. This part we can use the cyclotron. This is the only one. So research reactor in Korea, the name is Hanaro. That's why Hana means one. Hanaro. In the middle of the Korea. I think that is work from the 1996. Now we have some problem with the kinds of maintenance, so we cannot use it. So only we plan to make another research reactor, but totally now we cannot do anything. The history of the research, history of the reactor is not so long. Earlier, we know that that nuclear reaction is occurred from the. We know that the chain reaction is occurred from the some kinds of high, just like the uranium, plutonium, like that. But we cannot control that reaction. That means that if that not controlled, that means a nuclear bomb. So if we can control, then that we can use that kinds of electric plant, or we can use that research reactor. In 1942, they make a Chicago Fire 1. That's the first self-sustaining chain reaction. And after that, they got some kinds of material for nuclear bombing. So that is, we call that Manhattan Project. After that, every human race understand, this is very dangerous if that is used for a weapon. But still, we have a big chance to use the peaceful use of the nuclear power, or like that. So after that, they make a kinds of IAEA like that, and also peaceful use of the just like a production of electricity or radionuclide. Like that. Here you can see how many reactors in the world. In 1917, we have 446 units still ongoing, and then research reactor more than 250, and under construction 61. But the order or planned one is 165. But after that, they canceled the construction of nuclear reactor because of some kinds of after the Fukushima accident, and then they change into some kinds of political issue. Still, we have so many nuclear reactors in the world. In case of Korea, we have more than 27 reactors. Most of them are used for a nuclear power plant. Only one we have a research reactor. As I mentioned, that Actually, year of 2015, we got new research reactor, but still we cannot do anything here. I think this is a very basic. Radium-235 can get the neutron, then they turn into the radium-236. Then there is an unstable one. So they divide into different nucleus. So they can produce 2 or 3 neutrons again. And after that, this one going to another radium. That means there is a chain reaction. Normally, that neutron has a kinetic energy from up to 1 mega electron volt. So if that neutron has controlled by the heavy water or graphite, then that test neutron turning into the thermal neutron. So we can control with the modulate materials. So as I mentioned, that the chain reaction controlled by the modulated material. In case of uranium, 1 fission, we could get 2.5 neutrons. In case of plutonium, almost 3 neutrons we could get. And also we have big energy. Only one nucleus, you could get more than almost 200 mega electron. So that's why that is the very economical for itself. And after the critical concentration of the concentration of the uranium-235, then we could make a nuclear weapon. First of all, that reactor, titled reactor, we could see here, power reactor and also research reactor, and other. Last one is we could make a nuclear fuse from the uranium 238 to the produce the uranium 239, plutonium 239. So that's why we call that is a breeder reactor. From reactor, we could get the iodine-131, mostly molybdenum-99. That is the we call that is fission moly, and other radionuclide we could get from the reactor. We can make a radionuclide from the fission product, but sometimes we can make a target near to the nuclear reactor. Then that bombardment of the that neutron, then we could get other types of radionuclide. Normally, we could make kinds of different radioisotope from the research reactor, but that molybdenum-99M, we could get some kinds of chemical process, and then after the several chemical processes, we could get the molybdenum-99. And sometimes we couldn't get the irradiated moly, that is the neutron capture reaction, and also sometimes chemical modified things, we could get carrier-free radioisotopes. So I think just to they can do in a research reactor. Simply, you can understand which kind of radioisotope that can produce in the research in the reactor like that. Also, other radionuclide can produce by the research reactor. But normally, from the reactor radioisotope that has a carrier. So non-radioactive materials, they can possess inside of the radionuclide. So that's why we have to do the chemical process for purify the radionuclide. So several types of chemical process has done in the production of radionuclide, in the, especially in the reactor. Next one is a cyclotron. We have two cyclotrons in SNH. One is the IBA from, and the other one is the G heterophase. This one is the old one installed in 2008. This one is a new one in 2011. In the year of 2011, we installed that one. Cyclotron was installed somewhat earlier than the reactor. Year of 2032, UC Berkeley, they got the first cyclotron proposed by the Ernst Lawrence, just like the charged particle is curved in the high field of the magnetic field. So after that, the year of 2041, that's why Washington WashU in St. Louis is famous in cyclotron chemistry. They possessed the first cyclotron in the world for purpose of the medical use. So after that, so many radiochemists worked in WashU. In case of Korea, we have several professors from WashU. And after that, invention of the FDG and also PET scanner, plenty of increasing nuclear medicine imaging. And then also we got a big machine, just like a cyclotron or PET machine like this. Year 2017, last year, we got almost 40 cyclotrons, and also we plan to 2 more cyclotrons in Korea. But I think somewhat many compared to the area, because of the almost half of them are in near to Seoul. In case of Korea, that cyclotron history come from the 1986. That first cyclotron in Kiran, and second one is in SNUH and Samsung Medical Center. We have almost same installation rate. The first production of FDG is done by the Professor Jaemin Jung in our department. As I mentioned, that the charged particle is curved in a high magnetic field. Then you can see here, ion source is center of the cyclotron, and then they got the RF field. The RF means plus minus change it into RF sequence, and then they got has a velocity, increasing the velocity, and then finally they extract from that cyclotron, and then they bombard into the target material, especially for O18, then we can produce F18 like that. Earlier one, we use the proton as a charged particle, but nowadays they use the hydride. And then finally they change into the proton. After 2 electrons is detached from the hydride. And sometimes we got the neutron beam, also sometimes we could have a heavy ion cyclotron. But normally medical cyclotron is always use the proton, and sometimes you can use the neutron. So that's why in case of IBA cyclotron, that is we call the 18/9, means 18 means proton energy, 9 means neutron energy. Okay. As I mentioned that we have to consider that the threshold energy for production of the radionuclide. But sometimes we should consider that the proton kinetic energy higher one. Sometimes we could make iron 123. Lower one we could make iron 124. So sometimes that threshold energy can make a different radioisotope. We have to consider that things. So if that if we want to make iron 124, just to be 10 MeV is enough for iron 124 production. Okay? All that things is in a textbook. So just you can search the literature, then you put that just a 10 MeV cyclotron. Okay? One more thing is the beam current. The beam current means how many charged particles in the target material, to the target material. So beam current sometimes that influence to the production, radionuclide production yield. Okay, but a higher beam current make a higher temperature. So we control that cooling system. Especially we use the water cooling, or sometimes we put the helium cooling system. So we consider that the optimal range for production of the radionuclide. Okay. Radionuclide from cyclotron, normally they produce the positron or sometimes gamma ray. So as you can see here, thallium-201 or indium or every other C11F18 CFNO compound from the cyclotron. Sometimes lonely radionuclide you can produce copper 64 or technetium 94. I know that. Then he will try to connect me. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So that's why, that means we are connected. Okay? So anyone who wants to connect me, raise your hand. Okay. Then ask me anything.
So I have a question actually.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, you said about the U value. So U value is should be more than 2 because it needs to reach up to the center of the nucleus.
I cannot understand the first part.
My first question is about Q value.
Q value?
Q value. Threshold value.
Threshold Q. Yeah, Q. Yeah.
So that should be more than 2 levels.
I think that is not Coulomb force. Just they can put the neutron from the nucleus, that energy. So I think that is not the Coulomb force. Just that is related with the gluon and also other force in a nucleus. But we know that that threshold energy for F18 production, we know that more than 9 MeV. In case of germanium, more than 30 MeV. We know that we can find in the textbook. So that thing is some kinds of physics things. I'm a chemist, so I cannot understand exactly what is the true things. Okay.
Why you guys need differ for different kinds of isotope?
Because of that nucleus has a binding force, different binding force. So how many neutrons, how many protons in the only O18? So sometimes if we want to make a germanium, we could make a zinc 60 something. Yeah. So that means a different nucleus, different number of protons and different number of neutrons. So that is a different energy. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for coming to Bangladesh with your class. My question is, why are you using 89, that is deuterium source, not the proton source, 1880? We have been doing that, using that IBC for 9 years, I think, most of it. But why not go for 1818 proton source IBA, not 89? For us, we are also doing a cycle that is 89. We are thinking of, I think it could be changed to 1818 also. So, what would be?
I mean that 18.9 means 18 for a proton, 9 means a deuteron. But yeah, but I think if we want to make a F18 dopa, if we want to F2 gas method, that means we can use a proton. But the F minus, that means I'm sorry, that opposite way. If you want to F2 gas, then we have to use the deuteron. Okay, so that's why we have to use the proton, or sometimes we can use the deuteron.
Yes. We usually produce heavy water. So
Yeah.
89. If we want to produce gas, then it will be 18.
Yeah. So I think we can move to the technician things.
Most important question.
Yeah.
Which one is more expensive?
Same.
Say,
Yeah.
18.9 and 1818.
I think maybe 1818 is yeah.
More expensive. How
Sure.
much more expensive? So that's the information needed for the clinicians.
See.
So when the radiochemists or radiopharmacists are saying, we need to buy this one, purchase this one, with double the amount of the money, then we suspect it's kind of a fitting well with the academic, the interest of our colleagues. Okay. The same thing happens when we just propose our proposal to hospital headquarters. They suspect us that we are promoting the academically the prosperous one instead of the actually cost-price relationship in terms of the cost-price relation. No, cost-benefit relationship, in which is the best. So actually, twice the pricey.
So dealing with the gaseous,
Yeah.
so involves many other issues,
Okay.
like radioactivity issue, some.
What about yours here?
So liquid, 18.
Yeah, 18.
9.
So from IB.
Right.
I think that nowadays that technical situation is almost same. That each IBA or G or GMS is dropped ABT like that. The technical problem is almost same. Also, that is advanced cyclotron. So only different thing is the ion source, the quantity of the ion source. IBA means they have 10 times more from the G cyclotron. So, but it has that kind of problem because of that ion source sometimes burning because of the high fold of the ion source. But production yield, in case of production yield, IBA is the best one.
I heard that last week I was in a meeting in Malaysia. I had some professor trying to maybe learn the IEA to produce zirconium-89 from liquid source by using liquid source.
Yes, GE also make that things and their own target system. Even the gallium-68, they try to make a gallium-68. Okay, I think a technician radiopharmaceutical just practical things, because of you made it every day. How many scans for technician scanning in your hospital?
We usually do 12 to 15 DTPA and almost 15-20 bone scans every day, and 1 or 2 day MBI, and some other scans, but we have IDR and
Summing of 150.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very big. In case of SNH, we got more than 2,500 per month. So almost same with your hospital.
But it's not only the thyroid scan is different. I think
Only technician.
50 scan.
Okay. Here you can see the Korean domestic product of the technician generator, but we cannot produce molybdenum 99. So just molybdenum 99 from the Russia or South Africa, then US, Canada, and then we can make this kind of generator.
It's also same for
Yeah, maybe almost all the in the world they can make like that. Technetium has as Dong Lee mentioned that it has 7 valence electron. So that means without this valence electron, whole is gone. That means that they got 7 plus oxidation state. That is the very stable state of the technetium 99F. Atomic number 43 means my email ID is the wanja43, means I start from my whole career start from the technetium 99M, so that's why wanja means element in Korea. So wanja 43 means element 43. I'm a technetium 99M.
Actually, I speculated you were born 1943.
Technetium 99M is the man-made nuclide. As I mentioned, that is the molybdenum 99M loaded generator system. They can produce the technetium 99M. We use the fusion moly. Technetium 99M decay. The half-life is 6 hours, and then they change it into the technetium 99. So that's why all the technetium generator, they contain technetium 99. And then after the one elution, that quantity of the technetium 99 is dramatically decreased. Then after some time, you have a higher content of the technetium 99M. Okay. call ended here.
Every 40 minutes, there is a break.
And how many generators you used in per week? 2. 1 curie generator, 2. 500 or?
10, 20.
Oh, we got 5 or 7 from the 1 curie to the 500 millicube. And also, how about the quality control of the technetium 99?
So we are doing the generator production, and every week we produce around 18 to 20 generators and supply to all over the nuclear research centers in our country, and also the private hospitals. And we do the quality control in our laboratory. After production, we do 4 generators and do the quality control, and that is poison test and radioactivity and toxicity. This test
that is for a technetium generator. Okay, itself. So you may know that 4 times of the half-life. After the 4 times of half-life, you could get more than 90% of original activity. So if you get 100 millicurie of the first illusion, after 24 hours, so the 99M is the 6 hours half-life. 4 times means 24 hours. After 24 hours, you could get 90 millicurie. Okay? It's very easy. So in case of the gallium-68, it has almost a 1 hour half-life. After 4 hours, you could get almost 90% of the whole generator capacity. So that's very good for clinical use. Especially, I think maybe this technetium generator is good for workers. Only 1 time in a day. It's very happy to in the morning time. In case of gallium generator, we can use the 2 or 3 times illusion for a patient. So that is a very economic generator. But I think this is a worker-friendly generator. Okay. As I mentioned, that they have a 6 hours half-life and also 140 kilo-electron volt gamma ray they produce. This is very ideal for a sodium iodide scintillator. I think maybe Professor Jason Lee will discuss about that case. And also there is a generator produced one. So after invention of the technetium generator, that is the early 70s, and then after that, so many chemists and radiochemists try to make a kit, labeling kit. So they could make all the different kinds of labeling kit, including DTP or HEP or MAA or any other kinds of things they can make. Normally, technetium 99M per technetate has a 4 oxygen molecule that is very stable. So if you want to make a complex, you have to reduce detach all the oxygen from the technetium 99M. So we need to use the reducing agent, especially we commonly use the technetium tin fluoride or tin fluoride as a reducing agent. And also sometimes we need a stabilizer after radio labeling from the oxidation or like that. So normally we use the stabilizer or ascorbic acid or gentic acid like that. And after invention of the technetium generator and after invention of the several kinds of labeling kit, that the nuclear medicine also dramatically increased their imaging cases like that. As I mentioned, that the technetium polytechnic, it has 4 oxygen atom in that molecule. That is the tetrahedral composition, so structures that just like a sphere structure. Our body consists. Our body thinks that is the sphere structure. So that sphere structure and the minus charged one is almost the same size with the iodine. So that's why that in vivo biodistribution is almost same with the iodine 131 or iodine 123 like that. You can see here thyroid uptake or also stomach uptake from the technetium polytechnic. Next one is the colloidal radiopharmaceutical from the technetium 99M. First one is technetium MAA, macro albumin. The size is up to from the 10 to 90 micrometer. That is scanned for lung imaging. Or circle colloid or thin other colloidal structure can be used imaging of the liver or spleen, or sometimes we can get the lymphatics imaging. Here you can see the technetium MAA imaging from the lung patient, and that colloidal technetium labeled colloid structure, they can give the function of the liver image from the patient. And the smaller particle size projected in the antimony sulfur colloid, they can use for the lymphatic imaging. That lymphatics is blocked or not, we can identify that things. Okay. And one more thing, for a surgical, for a breast cancer patient, they remove the whole tumor tissue near to the breast, and then after that, if we find that the sentinel lymph node, just adjust lymph node that we call the sentinel lymph node, if that has a tumor metastasis, then we can try to use the different treatment modality like that. So if that has no tumor cell in the sentinel lymph node, then we cannot. We don't need to remove the whole lymphatics like that. So that sentinel lymph node detection is very important for a surgical field. Next one is the hydrophosphonate labeled technetium 99. That is going to the bone tissue. We normally use the MDP or HDP like that. You can see the MDP image from here, from the gamma camera imaging. And next one is the kidney imaging agent. Normally we use the DTPA or MAX3 as a kidney imaging agent. They suggest that the -1. So all the kidney imaging agent has a negatively charged one. That is a very good excretion rate for kidney. So So we don't know that the exact structure of the DTPA, the technetium complexation after the complexation, but still we have information that highly negatively charged. Max we have that crystallography structure from the radium. They possess this kind of structure and then possess -1 charge. Sometimes we can use the EC this type. Also, that has a positive because of this acid group can make a minus charge. Here you can see the serial imaging of the gamma camera. You can find that which kidney has functionalized or malfunction. You can find. Sometimes we can treat it with the probenecid like as a acceleration of the kidney excretion. And the other part is the liver function imaging. Either technetium derivatives, hepatobiliary agent that is the accumulated hepatocyte and then that move to the intestine like that. So we use the derivative technetium, so we can see the liver function. Next one is the brain perfusion imaging agent. Earlier, Professor Dongsu mentioned that HMPO and ECD. They have a somewhat different perfusion status in the brain. IMP or HMP or ECD is somewhat different, and also somewhat different pattern of the uptake of the ECD and HMP. You have to understand what is the exact meaning of the uptake mechanism. And very few example of the receptor imaging for technetium 99M, because of the technetium 99M should be make a complex, so it possesses that high molecule, higher molecular weight structure. So if that receptor binding molecule is dangled with a huge molecule, then that receptor affinity should be go down. So many radiochemists try to make a receptor imaging agent with the technetium 99M, but only one, except this one, everyone failed. Okay? This throughout one, there's Professor Hank Kuhn from Pennsylvania University. He tried to make a cocaine derivative from the technetium labeling, and also he got just like a dopamine receptor imaging, but dopamine transporter imaging. And next part is the myocardial imaging agent. They possess the lipophilic, and also they possess that +1 charge, and also they possess the ether. All the myocardial imaging agent, they possess the ether. After transfer into the myocyte, they cut the special enzyme. They cut this part, so they change into the alcohol. They cannot pass through the cell membrane, so they accumulate this. As you know that the potassium has a +1 charge, so they accumulate in the myocyte. First of all, they transfer into the myocyte, and then after detaching this ether bomb, then they accumulate in the myocardium. So this MIBI is a famous one, and also tetraphosphine just like it's a 50-50 market share in the world. And several different groups proposed different types of technetium labeled 1, but only 2, technetium MIBI and tetraphosphine, were survived. Sometimes we could get rest imaging and stress imaging for myocardial imaging. You can see here these kinds of beautiful images like that. And next one is the RBC labeling of the technetium 99M. I think that cell component labeling of the technetium 99M is very common. But how about your hospital now? WBC or RBC labeling? No? RBC, okay. Because of that, RBC always flow in the blood, so you can see the vascular system from the technetium RBC. Some specific technique for technetium labeling, but I think Ajim or he can do everything. Yeah, I think you made in-house preparation. There's no problem. Okay. We can see here that this one is a leukocyte WBC labeled, technetium labeled WBC inflammation images like that. So almost same with RBC or leukocyte label. Earlier, we tried to make antibody labeling for technetium 99M that sometimes we could make directly reduce the SS bond in the antibody, and sometimes we could make a bifunctional chelating agent connection to the antibody to label the technetium 99M. This is the reduced antibody. They can make a technetium 99M labeled antibody, and sometimes we could make a bifunctional chelating agent connection to the antibody like that. And this is the technetium labeled antibody imaging. So, as you know that the technetium labeling is a preparing, just a preparation, and sometimes we call that is compounding. That's very easy. That's very easy. And then after that, sometimes we have a problem from the patient image. Why? Because of all the technetium labeling or preparation, all the radiopharmaceutical should be done with the TLC, at least the TLC. We can find that that is the labeled one or free technetium we could find, or the colloid one we could find in just one TLC. But I know that in the morning time, in case of us, more than 6 different radiopharmaceuticals should be prepared in 1.5 hours. So only one person can do. So he could not do all the 6 TLC in one time. So that's why we have a solution for that, because of the technetium kit is already FDA or any authorization government body authorized that approved product. And technetium generator also approved the product. So just to compounding, just mixing is enough for that preparation. So that's why we, firstly, every day we try to get the TLC. And then after 1 month, weekly, after 3 months, I don't know, I mean, monthly, like that. So you can reuse that quality control, but scheduled way, okay? Scheduled way. So I don't know exact situation of your hospital or in the Bangladesh. You can make that kinds of protocol for quality control, quality assurance. Then that will be the no problem. Okay. Because of technetium labeling is very easy. Just to simply add the technetium 99 and then mixing, or sometimes we can make a heating and then put the vial, and then we could get technetium labeled compound. That's very easy. But still, we need a special equipment or facility for the technetium labeling procedure. Here you can see here our hospital. I think you may know this area. Hostel rooms, and also generator is located in the depicted area, and RI food, and shaker, sometimes heating bath. I think now we don't use heating bath, just heating mantle or hot heating block. You have to keep all the kit in a freezer. And finally, we could inject it in an injection room. We deliver to the injection room. Technetium albumin scan, we could get normally more than 30 years. We understand why. We didn't think that why the liver uptake is high, but we try to make some kinds of different chemistry, so we could get somewhat different image from the technetium albumin image. I think that is maybe the next step for a technetium labeling compound, just like a technetium nano compound. Okay, this is the end of my presentation. Also, I need to ask your hands.
So I'm still at the DL-HMPAO and meso-HMPAO. Are they acting the same to be taken up by the brain?
No, different.
So meso should not be used for. Meso is a contaminant.
Yeah, contaminant. DL is the pure one.
So DL means one is D, the other is L.
Yeah.
D form and L form. So you are raising your hand and you need to ask a question. Okay. And why don't you just say a little bit about the commercial, I mean the Korean company produced cyclotron. Is it?
It's working. That is very robust.
Really?
Yeah, robust. But they.
Please don't buy.
Yeah. Because of there is no company now, and there is no person to maintain.
Yeah.
So they can maintain all the equipment.
So I still wonder the IBA, how IBA company is not going to out of business. Why? Because once cyclotron is installed, we use cyclotron almost 30 to 40 years, right? Then once selling the cyclotron everywhere in the world, there is no more place. And so they need to just find the market in Moon or Mars or Venus. That's the same story. So maintenance business is going to become costly. So
yes, so that's why every other analytical instrument or the other instrument, they change the strategy they sell the main machine cheaper way, and then maintenance fee is higher.
Okay, that's the reason why. Then is decommissioning easy?
Not so easy.
Yeah, we call it decommissioning, not just the kind of the discarding. We need to decommission it. We have one experience to just kind of disintegrate our machine and then install again. So please.
Yeah. Okay.
Why molybdenum 99 is stable in basic media?
Basic, SD.
Molybdenum 99.
Molybdenum 99.
By molybdenum in sodium molybdate in 0.2 molar sodium hydroxide. Why it is stable in basic media?
Molybdenum 99 should make molybdenum O4 minus. So that's why that is some kinds of colloidal, especially in the higher pH, they can make a colloidal structure, just like molybdenum 99, molybdenum O4 minus. Okay, so if there is acidic pH, they cut the bond. So protonation is awkward, and then they have made the chance to produce the OH minus. So normally we maintain the higher pH.
What is your pH during production of molybdenum?
We cannot do the molybdenum. We always normally purchase from the Russia or South Africa.
No, before loading, I hope you are using alumina column, okay?
Yeah, sure.
And you are loading molybdenum into
Alumina, yeah.
So before loading, what is your pH? pH that
Exactly. I don't know that.
3 to 4 or something like that.
Maybe higher than the 10.
So, as he mentioned about the aluminum, are there many episodes of the alumina breakthrough?
No, actually not, because of the we test all the maybe they do the alumina.
Maybe the manufacturer.
Yeah, manufacturer test. Yeah.
We just before after the elution, we put it in the dose calculator and there is a software program. We just test the molybdenum vector. Test the molybdenum vector and after the level do the RCP, radiochemical period. But the manufacturer who manufactures these things, they mainly do the aluminum breakthrough.
Because of all year, we have to check the alumina breakthrough technetium generator because of that time the quality is not so good in the world.
And do you do technetium HMPO spec here?
Previously, yes, we did, and now it is ECD.
You are doing ECD, so I just blame the ECD. So in case of technetium HMPO, it is not without any fault, and we experienced a lot of HMPO, the hydrophilic form problem. So in case of Monday study, because technetium has accumulated, not hydrophilic problem, technetium 99 problem. So accumulated during the weekend. So technetium HMPO is rare. What I'm saying, technetium 99M HMPO is rare compared with the technetium 99 HMPO, which is going to make things the worse. And if injected, brain is not visualized, and only the soft tissues are there. So still, the technologies start coming on Saturday and Sunday, and they just elute and discard, elute and discard, so that the ratio technetium 99N over technetium 99 should be maintained the same, like during weekday. Is it really? So still they are doing. While I was a chairman, for 8 years I just let them do. So they were so disappointed with coming just to elute. then go back. So it was these days.
It was better that you avoid HMPO on Sunday and do it on Tuesday and Wednesday and other days. Then
Yeah.
you could
Actually,
avoid
nowadays, earlier, I think 5 years ago,
Yeah.
they tried to, I think more than 10 years, they looked in the Sunday.
Yeah.
So nowadays, HMPO scanning is in start from the Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's better.
So that's disregarding
Yeah.
the patient's need. Okay, so.
The kind of suggestions. If we want to do some gallium. Suppose there are some GMP requirements for the gallium leveling, that we should have a GMP room with automated synthesizer and many things. So is there any suggestion if we just want to buy one gallium generator, then buy some PSMA or Uptake and do in-house just